All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to pop the top on the secret history of Coca-Cola. And trust me, it's a story that's a whole lot darker and frankly weirder than the one you probably know. Okay, so listen to this. Changing the taste of Coca-Cola is like God making the grass purple. I mean, wow. That's a real quote from someone in 1985 when Coca-Cola dared to change its formula. The public reaction was, well, it was basically a national meltdown. It felt almost religious, right? So you have to ask, what is it about this fizzy brown drink that makes people feel that strongly? Yeah, that whole new Coke thing went down as one of the biggest marketing disasters in history. But here's the thing. To really get why people were so upset, why it felt like a betrayal, we have to rewind. We've got to go way, way back to the very beginning and dig up the story that the official version was pretty much designed to bury. All right, so first things first, let's take a look at the official story. You know, the one Coca-Cola has been telling us for over 100 years. It's this simple, folksy myth that's been carefully crafted to feel just as wholesome as the drink itself. I mean, it's a great story, right? A lovable doctor, a kettle in the backyard, a happy accident. It's the American dream, basically, in a bottle. The only problem? It's, well, it's almost completely made up. The real story is way more complicated and honestly way more interesting. And it's all tied up in the anxieties of a country that was going through some major growing pains. So to find the real story, we have to go back to the chaos of 19th century America. Think about it. The Civil War had just ended and the entire country was changing at this absolutely breakneck speed. People were moving from farms to factories, cities were exploding, and all that rapid change created this brand new kind of stress, this national anxiety. Things got so stressful, in fact, that they basically invented a new disease for it. Seriously, back in 1881, a doctor named George Beard gave it a name, neurasthenia. He also called it American nervousness. And what caused it? Well, he blamed everything modern. The telegraph, the steam engine, even just the new pressure of having to be on time for things. It was seen as the disease you got if you were ambitious and trying to keep up with this crazy new world. And you know what happens when a lot of people are anxious, right? It creates a huge market for a cure. People were desperate for anything that could give them a little relief, and you better believe there was an army of entrepreneurs ready to sell it to them in a bottle. This was the absolute golden age of what they called patent medicines. You had these tonics and elixirs that promised to cure literally everything. Baldness? Melancholy? Got you covered. And their secret formulas often had some pretty potent stuff in them, to make sure you felt like they were working. We're talking high-proof alcohol, opium, morphine. It was a world of hucksters and so-called miracle cures. And this is the exact world that Coca-Cola was born into. And this is where the official story really falls apart. See, Coke's inventor, John Pemberton, he wasn't some lovable old doctor messing around in his backyard. No way. He was a sharp, savvy pharmacist who was chasing a huge global trend. He was trying to create the next big patent medicine hit. And before Coca-Cola existed, there was this other ingredient that was taking the world by storm. I mean, doctors, scientists, everyone was calling it a miracle drug that could wipe out exhaustion and cure depression. That miracle ingredient? It was the coca leaf. Yep, the very same plant that gives us cocaine. But back then, it was seen as this amazing, beneficial wonder drug. Even a young, up-and-coming Sigmund Freud wrote a whole paper on it, calling it a magical substance. So here's where it gets really interesting. The most popular coca-based product on the planet at the time was this French drink called Vin Mariani. And guess what John Pemberton's first big hit was? A direct knockoff. He didn't even try to hide it. He called it Pemberton's French Wine Coca. And we're not talking about some fringe product here. This coca wine was a massive global phenomenon. It was endorsed by kings, famous artists, inventors. But its biggest fan? You're not going to believe this. Pope Leo XIII. He loved the stuff so much, he gave its creator a gold medal and even showed up in ads for it. Can you imagine? Okay, so how on earth did a knockoff Coca-Cola line from Atlanta become the non-alcoholic, all-American soda we all know today? Well, it wasn't some flash of creative genius. The truth is, Pemberton was forced to completely change his winning formula. See, Pemberton's French wine Coca-Cola was selling really well, but then disaster struck. Or maybe opportunity.
A new local prohibition law was passed in Atlanta, which meant his main ingredient, the wine, was about to become illegal. A political movement was about to force his hand and lead to a moment of desperate innovation.
And this, right here, is the beautiful irony of the whole story. A prohibition law, a law designed to stop people from drinking intoxicating beverages, is the direct reason Coca-Cola exists. Pemberton had to scramble to come up with a non-alcoholic version, and it was his bookkeeper, a guy named Frank Robinson, who came up with that catchy, alliterative name, Coca-Cola. And, get this, he also hand-drew that iconic script logo we still use to this day. Okay, so now we have the syrup. It's born out of the patent medicine craze and then totally reformulated because of Prohibition. So let's look at how they marketed this thing to become Coca-Cola. This is where the marketing genius really kicks in. Right from the start, Coca-Cola had this brilliant double life. That same bookkeeper, Frank Robinson, who was clearly the marketing brain of the operation, figured out they could sell it as two totally different things to two different crowds, all at the same time. So check this out. On one side of the pharmacy, it was still being sold as a patent medicine. Ads called it a valuable brain tonic that could cure your headaches, your fatigue, your nervous afflictions. But then, you walk a few feet over to the soda fountain, and it was a completely different story. There, it was just a fun new drink, advertised with simple words like delicious and refreshing. It was a cure and a treat, all rolled into one. And that right there was the masterstroke, because as time went on, people started getting skeptical of all those patent medicines. And the cocaine was also quietly removed from the formula around that time. So what did Coca-Cola do? They just dropped all the medicinal claims. They leaned 100% into the pure, simple refreshment angle. And just like that, they left their sketchy, snake oil salesman origins in the dust. So how does a drink born from addiction, imitation, and the whole patent medicine craze become a symbol of wholesome Americana? It's kind of wild, right? The next time you see that iconic red and white logo, just remember the real story. Coca-Cola wasn't some happy accident in a backyard. It was forged in the chaos of a very nervous time. It was a product of addiction, of imitation, of legal loopholes, and of some absolutely brilliant marketing. A history that's honestly way more intoxicating than the drink itself.